All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our unboxed after party recap webinar from Amazon's Unboxed conference. Joining just a couple minutes late here, but we'll still give everyone a minute or two to drop in. While we're doing that, I'll do my normal housekeeping. So if you've been here before, I'm sure you've heard all of this before. We do keep kind of a free-flowing format here. So we will jump from topic to topic. We don't have decks or presentations, and we will let you guys help us guide the conversation. So just for starters, we'll launch a poll, see which of the unboxed topics you're most interested in jumping into first, and we'll start our conversation there. And then we'll let it free flow from there. We do take questions throughout. We may stop our conversation and answer your question if it's topical. If it's about a different subject, we will finish up what we're talking about and then jump into that. But please keep questions in the Q&A. Drop any other general chit chat, say hello, let us know where you're joining from, sarcastic comments about anything that we might have said, whatever you want to do, throw that in the chat, but put questions in the Q&A so we don't lose track of that throughout the process. Just a quick overview of what Unboxed is for anybody that this is new to. I think this happened last year. I jumped right in and there were people joining who didn't actually know what Unboxed was. So Unboxed is Amazon's annual flagship conference for Amazon ads. So this is where you're going to hear the newest updates related specifically to Amazon ads products and features for current and upcoming year. So a lot of these things we talk about may be new that will be coming in 2025, but we know they're coming out. There may be active betas. So there are some things around that we can talk about. And without delaying any further, because usually we run out of time, I don't want to waste too much time on the intros here. Welcome, and let's kick off introducing our panelists here today. So I try to go alphabetical just to be fair, and also to test my skills because sometimes I get it wrong. That means Abe, I'll throw it over to you first.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to go to Alexi because she beats me on both first and last names. Oh, no, I think I beat her on first names. All right.
See, it's
Yes.
confusing. Thank you. It's not just me.
I need to brush up on my alphabetical skills.
Every time it's a question.
Yeah. All right. So having said that, well, I guess we'll do the age before beauty ranking over there. Hi, everybody. My name is Abe Shamali. I have a Amazon marketing agency called XP Strategy. I work with sellers in the specific space of their Amazon advertising. And we work with a lot of product categories. We work with a lot of sizes of brands. And hopefully I can add some interesting insights as we work through Unboxed today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Alexi, your turn.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. I'm Alexi Bell. I am the account director here at AO2 Management. I've been in the space for a minute now, kind of fell into it during COVID 2020. My background is in advertising itself, but now I get a chance to kind of touch a little bit of all of our brands. I work with our team of account managers on each brand with their overarching strategy, making sure that we have the most up-to-date not only ad strategy, but brand strategy itself. So staying up to date on the features and what we can do. But this was my third unbox with Jessica. And so yeah, it was fun to see everything. So I will pass it on to Jeff.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Skolnick. I work for Carbon6, which is our software tools for Amazon sellers and vendors. This is also my third unboxed. I've been doing Amazon for I started in 2017 with a big candy company, worked for some agencies and some aggregators, and I'm very excited about some of these new announcements at Unboxed and sharing with everybody.
Great. Thank you guys. And thank you so much again for joining me here today to talk about this stuff, especially for this particular webinar. Anybody who knows me knows that Amazon advertising is my black hole. I am so knowledgeable about so many things Amazon, and ads is not it. So very thankful to have some experts and some people who are just really interested in geeking out about this stuff so that I don't have to. I can just be the moderator here and feed you some topics and then listen to everything cool you have to say. So to kick us off, we're going to launch a poll to the audience. We'll cover a couple of the different topics, wider range themes from Unboxed this year, and then you let us know what you're most interested in hearing about, and we will we'll start with that. So go ahead and answer that poll now. We'll see what's most interesting. That'll be our first topic, and then we'll go from there. Right now,
Worth is a tie.
yeah, I was about to say. I thought creative and AI would be the top one, and
Then we run a second poll for rock, paper, and scissors.
you're right. How do we break the tie? I feel like, and you guys panelists, so we're tied right now for sponsored ad and creative and AI. So I kind of will throw it over to the panelists, but I feel like sponsored ad is an easy one to tackle because there wasn't a ton of sponsored content at Unboxed this year. So maybe we knock that out first, but thumbs up, some thumbs down, whatever you guys want to do, let me know and we'll go that direction.
Creative's an exciting one. A lot of stuff to talk about there.
Yeah, I feel like we'll get lost in that one for a little bit. So maybe we knock out the sponsored and then jump right into the creative. And that's where I can actually add some comments too.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
Cool. So on the sponsored ad content, anything that anyone is feeling super passionate about that was announced, or want me to go through a list of topics that were talked about?
Go for it.
So I don't know. I think starting with the list is probably the right way to do it. It's funny because like everybody in this call, I've been to several unboxed plus a whole bunch of other Amazon events. And after a while, when you've heard probably hundreds of releases at this point, the ones that truly jump out at you tend to be rarer and rarer. So the list is a good place to start.
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the three things that I can think of that were specific to sponsored, there's the new product launch campaigns, that's sponsored, right? There is the AMC audiences for sponsored, and then conversion path reporting.
Yeah.
I think those are the top three, at least, that are top of mind for me.
And the
Yeah.
there was which I kind of graced over this at Unboxed, but some B2B specific sponsor product targeting was also another rollout that is officially rolling out into all accounts soon. But it's still in beta, but they did kind of touch on that. They just didn't have a full,
Like a full
they had like a
presentation.
15-minute session about it. They didn't go too much in detail because I think it's still in the testing phases.
Okay, so we can touch on that one too. So I'm super interested in the new product launch campaign just because that's something that's like accessible, I feel like, to everyone. So maybe we start the conversation there.
I was so excited that they announced this. Obviously new product launches is the lifeblood for most Amazon brands. So what I heard, and they move very quickly there, and they talk about a lot of things, and not necessarily when things will be available, but I know one thing is this new and notable badge they talked about as part of this, and it sounds like that's in a beta or something, because they were saying that they were already getting incremental growth from that new and notable badge, which is exciting. And the other thing I thought on this new product launch is it checks on inventory stock, and it's sort of it's all encompassing from that standpoint.
Yeah, the criteria and how it was going to like make sure that was serving and not serve when you didn't have the stock, and all of that was pretty interesting. There was no feedback though, because I know that's going to be a question that we're going to get asked here, and so if we can even cut it off before it happens and after the fact. New and notable badge. There was no criteria given, no information given on how you qualify for that new and notable badge.
Correct. Just that it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some unresolved things. So I think that here is a thing which could be really good, but I guess the execution is going to be the real question. Up until now, Amazon has had a program where they have a group of representatives that help onboard new brands. I forgot the name of that group, but I don't know if you ladies know Megan.
There's a couple, new seller support is one of those, and then the Launchpad program is another.
Right. So both of those are sort of concierge versions of this service, which have existed up until now, in which there will be a specific person assigned to you. They know you personally. They know your account personally. They are, instead of just a seller support person that can be random each time, you have an email of a person and they would walk you through the system. They would show you, the things you might not know as a person that just goes into Seller Central the first time. And also, specifically as part of Launchpad, they're getting you into promotional programs which are not available to other sellers, different deal types and things like that. So being in those programs definitely has a value. Now, what makes this different is this becomes available to quote unquote the masses. And once something is available to the masses, everything works differently than when it's available to like 20 or 200 people. So what happens when there's hundreds and hundreds or thousands of SKUs with that new and notable badge? What happens when some, gray hat or black hat group of people figures out how to hack and get that badge? What's it going to look like at scale? It's undetermined. The idea of it is great. I work all the time with brands that are new to Amazon, and it is like a sea that you're jumping into with a flimsy life preserver. So to have Amazon walk you through it and give you an extra piece of support is definitely helpful. But again, at scale, let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, I feel like, it's kind of like Amazon advertising across the board, right? At one point on Amazon, there was no advertising. There was no mechanism for that whatsoever. You could do offsite stuff, and even that was pretty limited. And then early days, there was so much opportunity. It was accessible. You actually really got attention for it. And then there became this point where it was congested and there was, nothing new, and it just kind of stalled out. And then now they've started to add things to it to make it more robust, to give you more opportunities to like open up these avenues. And so, yeah, with anything Amazon, and I think this is no exception, it's going to be great in the beginning. You're going to see that lift that Jeff said that, people are already seeing in the beta. We're going to see a lot more adoption. More people are going to see that lift. It will clog up at some point. And then what do they do to change it? It's all about the evolution. How do they keep things moving to keep it relevant and make sure that it matters?
Right. It sort of sinks to the lowest common denominator. So almost by definition, anybody that's in the beta is special for some reason. That's how you're in the beta.
Right.
What happens when people who literally they don't know how to install the app on their phone, or somebody who's using a flip phone, or somebody with a terrible connection, or somebody with an account charge issue that they don't know how to get past? What happens when all of those people are in the system by the hundreds? Well, then let's see what it looks like.
Yeah. And oh, sorry, Lexi, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and I think the only way that customers, or like as a brand, you're gonna be able to see these paths is by utilizing AMC, about utilizing Amazon Marketing Cloud. And that path, we can't see the whole path for this new product launch without that AMC connection. So it then it's like you have to be that next level seller to even see that path. And so it kind of all feeds. That's where ads get so convoluted, because everything kind of feeds into, you need one to do the other, because all their examples were about a streaming TV ad to an Alexa ad to in like that was the path that they were showing they were showing us,
Right.
and not the more, what does that look like in the sponsored product feed? Like, can I actually see that data? We don't know. But a big theme about that transparency of data was there, and they know people want that. So what is that? Yeah, what is that going to look like? We don't know.
Yeah, the AMC for all, like all with an asterisk, because you have to be using software that has access to it. But AMC for all is definitely more interesting to me than that onboarding program. So I was part of the beta for this. So I've had it available for my regular Seller Central clients for probably 3 months now before this launched. And at first, it was a bear to deal with, because the AMC system is not intuitive, and that's really putting it
Ask me how
mildly.
many times I failed the AMC ads certification.
Right. So it is not intuitive. And when I would tell, a team member that's working on an account, hey, we activated AMC. Can you poke around and see what you can extract? Like a week later, they'd be like, hey, here's 46 screenshots where all my results are null. So, and they're literally copying queries from the sample query report and still getting nulls for weird reasons. So on one hand, once we got it working, the things we would see, especially for accounts that have a little bit of size, they were super interesting. But it is absolutely not a simple thing to poke around and see. Now, for me, the real opportunity, I'm not sure how it'll work, but I have to imagine that pretty soon after this becomes really widely open and accessible, there are going to be people layering on top of this to help pull those insights out. There are going to be tools that you can connect your account to that will create queries, that'll let you customize your query, that will actually format the queries in a way which is a lot more accessible. And that's really where the value is going to come out.
And this is just to make sure that I'm following, since again, I failed that AMC certification a couple times. This is the AMC audiences for sponsored. That's like what we're calling the AMC for all, right?
Yeah, the AMC audiences and also their analytics. So one lets you pull audiences that fit certain criteria that are unique, but the other one is, hey, there is more data. There's data about what conversions look like. There's data about what adds to cart look like that's more detailed. You know, one of the things someone mentioned elsewhere, and we actually look at this also, is how many people purchased from you twice but aren't in subscribe and save. That's not the same as somebody who was purchased once. The second time means they came back and looked for you. Well, there is a prime audience to build out, which is not a pre-built audience in sponsored display. So once you end, there are ways to get even more creative than that. So there might be a product which usually takes 6 months to use up. And if you notice that somebody went a year between purchases, well, you might draw a conclusion that they ran out and they just didn't get around to repurchasing. But an ad at the right time it got used up could nudge that purchase much faster. All of a sudden, you doubled the average order value per year.
It's really amazing the different audiences that you can figure out and dial into, and the insights that you can draw from that stuff. Like, you know, it's really the piece that has been missing for so much of the ad spend, right? Like, and
Yeah.
for us, for all of us in the space that we're in, for like really telling that story and justifying what we're doing and explaining what we're doing, we've been able to make some guesses up until this point. We've been able to make the best decisions we could, and we're telling our clients, we're telling the advertisers, you know, we're doing it because of this assumption we're able to make. But now hopefully we're backing up those assumptions or finding new things.
Yeah,
agreed.
And just to summarize what both of you said, like the theme at unBoxed, just to zoom out, was full funnel, right? Everything's about full funnel, which we're talking about. Audience reach, like Abe eloquently explained, and measurement, like which we're all excited about getting numbers around. I mean, to me, like those are the three things I heard in the hallways. I heard people talking about and writing down and posting about after the event.
Yep, absolutely. And they really did stick to it. I was a little nervous even going in prior to seeing any of the content, prior to hearing people talk this year, just because I felt like, as someone who's been in the space for 16 years at this point, it wasn't going to be over my head. Even though, you know, I've been in the space and I'm so knowledgeable, specifically for Amazon ads, with so much content about DSP and AMC and that higher level stuff, was it going to be over my head? And were we only going to be seeing those like aspirational brands there and not the average day-to-day Amazon seller brand who, you know, we all work with and service? And that was not actually the case. It really boiled down to being so much more accessible, not accessible necessarily to all yet, like Abe said with that asterisk, but so much more accessible than what I anticipated going in.
Yeah, agreed all around. They're doing a better job of communicating, and they're doing a better job of releasing things that are relatable, as opposed to just like data specific things.
Yep. Just to tie up a couple points here before we move on to the next one. So Abe, earlier on, you mentioned the new seller success and Amazon Launchpad. So a couple of changes to those programs over the last couple of years, and earlier this year specifically with Launchpad. So new seller success is something that you can get into specifically with help of an agency. Otherwise, like a partnered agency, otherwise you have to meet some metrics about your brand. They're like, Amazon's out there looking for you and inviting you to Amazon and getting you into that program. AO2 is an agency that is partnered with New Seller Success, so we can get new to Amazon brands into that program. Launchpad used to be a paid program. and Launchpad is no longer a paid program. There is an application process. You still have to qualify for Launchpad, and there are some specific metrics they look for. But now that is a free program. So some of those tools that are available in there, aside from some of these things like new product launch, which is now going to be available to everyone outside of that, Launchpad is still available. It's still a viable tool, and it's even more appealing now because it is a free program. So things that we can definitely get you more information on if you are interested in that. And then the AMC for All, sounds like, you know, Abe has been working with that, has a lot of experience in that as well. AO2 is just starting to get into anything AMC related, so, you know, may be able to help some brands out there. But if that's something you're interested in, you know, definitely comment here, reach out. We'd love to tell you more about those things and help you out with getting into some of that data and getting into some of those new audiences and understand what's really going on with your advertising.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else on that AMC for all the AMC for audiences, for sponsored, or any of that data, or we want to jump into conversion path reporting?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add the comment that you definitely need at least a certain amount of data coming in. The smallest brands won't have enough information to get useful things out of it. So if you're not selling X amount of volume yet, there won't be enough path of conversion. There won't be enough people who have repeat purchased yet. There won't be enough of things that you can influence. So you need to be at a certain size before that's useful.
Good information. Okay, conversion path reporting. This is something that I am not very knowledgeable on. And I did not visit a session that had anything on any content on this. So I understand it to be similarly like related to what we've just discussed, but without AMC. Is that?
It's sort of different, I think.
Okay.
So on one hand, it's similar. On the other hand, this is more simplified. So there's a lot of questions that come up with the brands that I work with. There's a lot of questions about which pieces of the picture to implement. So Amazon has sponsored TV, they've got DSP, they've got all the different match types of sponsored display. Within sponsored display, you've got VCPM, which is like super controversial. It's a match type which often looks good, but when you dig into the data, it looks like it's taking credit from other types of ads. So there are a lot of situations in which it's unclear about how much an ad type is contributing to your sales process. With this workflow, with this view that they've been showing us, you can see much more of where each piece contributed. So they'll tell you that this generated X amount of traffic, this generated X amount of sales, and you can get an idea of where each piece fits.
Got it. And I think I've got a link I can share too to the audience. Let me just grab that really quickly, because I think this will kind of tie together what you just said with like that view that they've been showing and exactly how they attribute each of those things across the board. That really helped me to understand it a little bit more, just to see that path that they've been showing.
And
it's still raw, I think. Like part of this is at an account level, and one of my pet peeves is any piece of data that's at the account level, because it hides what individual products do. You might have an account which is one product plus 50 little ones, and any numbers can be clouded either way, but you don't really have a true picture of what your business does. So until this data comes in at a product level, it's more interesting than useful.
But people
And
are
somebody
always
did-
wondering about that
Sorry.
upper funnel, right? Everyone's spending money on upper funnel, and they're wondering, like, does that really connect to a downstream outcome? Like, you know, am I spending money at the top of the funnel? Is that actually driving something that ends up in a sale? And that's Amazon's promise is, yes, we're going to connect those two.
And somebody did ask, I sat through one of the sessions in relation to this, and somebody did ask when to the panel, like to the person that was presenting, when are we getting the ASIN level? This is great, but like when is the ASIN level? Because this really, I have a huge catalog. This doesn't tell me anything. to somebody that's got like 5 products, you know, they can kind of make a lot more correlations. And they said that and the Amazon rep said that they're open to it, but they didn't want to give too much data at once and kind of determine what people are going to use. Which I was, you know, I was like, I mean, they basically said they're going to do it. It's just not, you know, not today, but the fact that they're rolling out, this was something that was in Marketing Cloud that they're now rolling into be self-service in the ad console and in the Amazon DSP reports through, you know, it's in that closed beta, but open, you know, later this year into next year. So more more brands are going to get to see it than those who have been using it thus far. So I think as that interest grows and more brands are using it, the sooner Amazon ends up making these additional adjustments and getting it at a more granular level. So I'm excited because I think it's more than we've gotten, but it's still not, you know, it's like still not the next level either.
Yeah, baby steps.
Baby steps.
I feel like if I would have to use my imagination and think of the use cases for this or where the value comes about, I would figure on 2 things, which are sort of extensions of the others. So most commonly when people use sponsored TV, for example, that's really the big question, because sponsored TV shows up in our ad console now when you create a campaign, but nobody knows if it's worthwhile. So there's always a question, is it worth running a TV ad? Well, now having this workflow where you can have better attribution for TV, what you'll be able to say is if you run an experiment for one product or for a group of products, all of a sudden sponsored TV will show up in that flow of attribution. And even though you know it's not for your whole business, you'll be able to say to you'll be able to present to the rest of the organization, hey, this is not useless. Once we implemented it, this was the piece that was attributed to the sponsored TV. And if you look at sales before and after, you can see a piece of a lift. So this helps tell the story for understanding tests. The other piece is for getting others that are not using sponsored video to try and start using sponsored video. So this information will be used as case studies or proof of concept. So if somebody manages several accounts, if it works in one, or if you have good data in one, you can show it to someone else and say, hey, look, this brand implemented and this brand received this. So to answer your question, yes, we recommend an experiment. Now, it might turn out that you see the opposite, that you see that it's not contributing, but I have to imagine that before Amazon released this, they already know that it's going to show a lift.
Yeah, they've done enough of the testing on their end, which is like always the seesaw for me of like, or a scale. I don't know why I went to the playground, but
Right.
I want everyone to adopt everything when it comes out because I want Amazon to get the data that they need and the information that they need to be able to make the internal determinations, right? But then there's always like, but don't try everything when it first comes out because it might fail and it may not be good for your business. So it's always hard to recommend or not recommend what people should jump on when something first comes out. Something like this, it feels like it's worth it. They've probably done enough of that background research first to, to prove out that, like jump on it, do the test, see what data it gives you, because then that is what we can use to continue to build and grow and strategize.
Yeah. The more information you have, the better you can understand the bigger picture. Even if the details are missing, having a big picture to start with helps some amount of decisions.
Yep.
If you think about it, this is way better than like if you did like an off digital example, like billboards. People are always saying, well, I don't know, if I did a billboard on the side of the highway, how did that make me sell more product? Like here, if you do a billboard or video, like they'll tell you, okay, these people actually saw, you had an impression of this video, and then later they saw this video, and then later they bought. So, did it contribute? I don't know, but it's part of the path to process to purchase. And you can prove that they saw it, or at least it was served up in front of them when they were streaming or browsing.
Yep, there we go.
Cool. So for anybody who might have missed it at the beginning of this, I did go ahead and drop that link in. So if you're wondering what we're talking about with that path and how they're showing, breaking down those things, there's a good visual in there. That is what it maybe looks like today, is not maybe what it will look like when everything is rolled out to everyone down the line, because this is still a closed beta. everything I've seen is like, it will be, it will be, it will be. So I think only certain users have access to this at this point. So it could change a lot from what we're seeing today.
Yeah. All of these are day one things. They're probably even day zero in a lot of cases because not everyone has access to it yet.
Yeah.
Let's see what it looks like after a bit.
Yeah. Alexi, before we move on, do you want to share anything on that B2B? I think you might be the only one who got into that session. Was there anything worth talking about? I know we have some B2B clients on our side.
Yeah, there was just a little bit of a nugget where they've rolled out through the API of doing bid adjustments for B2B placements. And it's rolling out into more ad consoles at the end of this month into next month, kind of by account. But that's about all they shared. It's just doing specific targeted ads through bid adjustments. So I'm interested to get more information with a rep that we're meeting with, but yeah, it's still up in the air what exactly you're going to be able to do with it.
All right, cool. So yeah, anybody who is doing B2B, if it's something that is, I know, anybody who is interested in that, if it's something that's part of your business, definitely let us know. And yes, we need to jump to creatives because I will always go down every rabbit hole. And I don't think we've done a single unbox or accelerate recap where we have ever touched on every single announcement. So let's see how we can do, because this creative one is definitely going to take a while. So we've got AI Creative Studio, audio generator, video generator, live images. Anything else?
That's a lot.
Indeed, it is. I feel like Creative Studio is maybe the biggest, like most robust topic if we want to start there, and that'll take us through some of the other ones.
Sure. Yeah, I think it sort of includes everything almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I signed up for the beta and I started playing around with it this morning. It's pretty big. I mean, it looks cool, but it's pretty basic, right? I mean, it allows you to take your Amazon product and give it a mood or a background or a theme and type some type of prompt, and it spits out some sort of basic images with your product in it. I know the promise is a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, and for anyone who is interested in that, before we get too far into it, I'll just say we do have a link to that. I think we can get that link shared in the chat, so anybody who is interested can sign up for that beta and check it out for themselves. Jeff, any specific requirements to get signed up for that? I think you just had to be an email address that is linked to an advertising account. Was there anything else in there?
Exactly. And once, exactly. So you do that, it says, hey, you got into the beta. Once you're in, you can select any account. So if you have multiple accounts, you're an agency, whatever, once you're in, you can easily change it between accounts. And really the only benefit of it connected to your account, because you actually type in your ASIN or your product, is that it saves it to your, instead of downloading it and uploading it to Amazon, it just saves it to your creative asset folder. So it's easier to pull into SPV or sponsored some type of ad vehicle.
And beyond that, from what I understand, these assets are not only available for advertising tools. So I think that was the biggest takeaway from me on this, is supposedly these save to your asset library, and then you can use them on PDPs, you can use them in the store, you can use them for A+ content. So, for smaller teams, I won't necessarily say smaller brands. I know there are plenty of massive brands who work with really small teams. This could be like your creative department, right? Theoretically, high level, before we talk about like what is the quality of what's being output and is it actually up to par, but in theory this could be a help across all of your Amazon assets. Now, what do we really think about it beyond that?
Especially because it's seasonally updated, right? Like right now you go in, it's like, hey, show your product when all these different Christmas backgrounds and holiday images and so forth. So, and they promised that they would update that for other seasons, so you can regularly update your images to be seasonally relevant.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, I really like this, as opposed to the other stuff where I was more measured in my enthusiasm. I have to say I like this one a lot more. So we've been internally playing with the AI image generator that Amazon has for maybe half a year now. What we do is each week, during one of our team calls, we have like an internal competition where we say, take one product from within our portfolio of brands and create an Amazon AI generated lifestyle image. And we'll actually have a competition within to see the winner. And as team members have learned to fix their prompts, and as the system has gotten a little smarter, we have started to generate amazing content with it. It's still definitely hit or miss, but we have some really, really good images in there, like things that you could put in a publication in some cases. Now, it definitely takes some work, but it is a thing which already works. Now, what we like is that what we like with the Creative Studio is that if we can take this and harness it and immediately plug it into ads, that becomes much more useful. To have it be part of the content library that Amazon has is very, very useful. So right away, we like that. The one thing that to be able to make videos which are maybe 2 steps ahead of a slideshow video from what I look like. It looks like there are transitions. It looks like there are animated scenes, but pretty basic stuff. But that's already, again, a couple of steps ahead of Amazon's slide video creating software. So this is, version 2 or 3.0 of that. Also great. A lot of brands don't have video. They are right away able to catch up. So this is something where I really like it a lot. I think it's really good. And I think that it will definitely help brands. The use case you were mentioning with small teams, but there's actually another use case. And a lot of times people will have an existing listing that was created long ago, and they need to replace one image. Replacing one image used to be a pain, even, no matter the size of your team, to create one image just to find the person with the time and the getting to like it and stuff. Now, whoever's touching the account can probably create that image in 5 or 10 minutes, done and submitted. So you can update a thing which hasn't been updated in years. You can run little tests if you want, informally or A/B testing. This tool gives you a lot that didn't exist before. So I like it a lot.
And a couple of questions real quick, and then Alexi. So Abe, I know, others may not know, I know you're an AI pro because I know that you won the AI hackathon.
Oh gosh, yes.
Last year at Prosper. But it's accessible, right? This is something that even if you aren't pretty experienced or you don't have like a lot of skill set, because it is iterative. So
I'm going to give you a hack during this webinar. This is not a hacky webinar, but I will give you the hack. Like I said, we're doing this for 4, 5, 6 months already internally. 5 or 6 weeks in, there was 1 week where one of the team members really gave an image which was light years ahead of the first few weeks. And I said, how'd you do this? He said, well, I asked ChatGPT to write me a prompt. So you do not have to be an AI expert. You go to ChatGPT and you say, hi, I want to create an image in an image builder tool. Write me a prompt which will create this kind of image. And it generated a 70-word prompt with lighting and with background and with realism and like all the details. Copy, paste, amazing image. So yes, you have to start with the smallest piece of imagination. Well, actually, you don't even have to. If you tell ChatGPT, please give me some ideas for what would be a good 4th image on Amazon, it'll give you a few ideas and then, okay, now give me a prompt. So just ask the basic questions. Don't try to get over fancy, and the tool will do the rest.
all right, great tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Alexi? Yeah,
and I thought the other part, one of the examples that they were using too, is that you could take, if you had a minute-long video and you wanted to turn that video into a bunch of mini videos in different formatting and things like that. I'm interested to see, I don't know, Abe, if you've gotten to mess with that at all yet, but I'm interested to see kind of how that, I mean, obviously what the example they were using was Ring doorbell, which is theirs. So they can mess with it a little bit more, and it was a super high quality video. But the fact that it could be horizontal or vertical or, and like all looked decent, that could be a good way to take, you have this minute-long video and you want to make multiple videos, short clips out of it, for other areas of Amazon. There could be a lot of opportunity there if you spend the money on making one really good video and then use it in a lot of different ways without having that, you know,
Oh,
not,
yeah.
it's not a graphic designer, but an editor, you know, to be able to reformat that.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I don't think we've played around with it a lot. I have good confidence that it will do a decent job. What we use internally when we cut up clips, one of the things my team does is they'll take my own long form videos and they'll dice it up. There's a tool called Opus, and it does an amazing job of cutting long videos into short ones. So if anybody needs a tool just separately, oh, I don't make anything from this. Opus.ai is beyond amazing at being a video editor. But if Opus is an existing technology that cuts up videos like this, I have to imagine that Amazon is at least as good at figuring out when transitions are happening and things like that. It's not a revolutionary technology, or at least, you know, it's something which has existed for at least a little bit of time. So they should be all right at doing it.
But it's the accessibility, like of having it there in the console and who's going to have
Oh, yeah.
access to it. I think that's the part that's, yeah, that's the part that's exciting. It's just the accessibility for a brand that doesn't know that that's, you know, something they can do.
Exactly. Yes. The ability to do more things easily right from within the ad console, every single one of those is better. So you just have to be methodical about having a plan for things to work on. What I find a lot of times is people who don't have a lot of experience with Seller Central, when they first go in, there are a lot of options. There are a lot of things hidden under icons. There are a lot of things in pop out trees. So you might go in to do one thing and you are completely lost down 4 rabbit holes before you even get to that thing you want to do. So this can happen very easily with campaigns and video builders and image builders and AMC audiences. So I think that before anybody starts to dig into these things, be clear about what you want to accomplish with your next 15 minutes and stay on point with trying to get that thing done. Otherwise, you'll never get to the creative new thing. This might just reflect my own ADHD, but that's what I expect. But
I feel like we're all right there with you.
yeah, but I'll share that as my own personal experience.
And then just before we wrap this up, because I feel like this is probably all the time we can give to creative before we popcorn over to AMC or anything else we might want to get into, live video. Still like part of this whole thing, or live images. That was something they really, I mean, we talked about it a couple different times in a couple different sessions, including the keynote, that live images was a really big deal to Amazon. What do we think about that as a component of this? As important as the regular image generating, as video generating, not really that important to this overall process. I think they look cool. I don't know if what's actually being output looks as cool as what Amazon showed on stage, but I think they look cool.
You're talking about the steam coming out of the coffee cup and the waves of the ocean
Waves.
background and the
Right, because
stars
we all know those
twinkling.
2 examples specifically, because that's exactly what they showed us.
Yeah,
Which it looked good for those. I just don't know how many products that's applicable. It's pretty easy to dress up a mug with steaming, you know, liquid, but I get nervous that if it's a complex product, you know, can they actually show all those other things that are a little bit more advanced?
Yeah, I would give that a shrug also. I'm not sure how much that, I don't know how groundbreaking it is. I don't know how much that adds to the user experience. I don't know how much it's going to be worth the effort. I can tell you now, if you have amazing product photography, that is a game-changing thing. If you graduate from so-so images to rendered images, you will see jumps in conversion that are amazing. Graduating from a good image to steam coming out of it is not clearly the home run change that I imagine. Now, having said that, at scale, 1 point in conversion equals a lot of dollars. So if that steam gives you 1 extra percentage point, that actually probably is going to be worth it for a good number of brands. But in terms of the wow factor, I don't get the wow. That's more of a 1 or 2 percentage point increase in your performance at best.
Yeah, I was thinking through to like Jeff's example of like, it looks great for a coffee mug, but what other products can this work with? And when we were testing things out, Alexi, for AO2, and we, you know, image generator, cat litter box, like what are you going to get with that? Like what live image could you generate and what would that quality be? So it is probably going to be pretty hit or miss. But a moving image is going to definitely catch the eye more than a static image. So just for the
By the
right
way,
products and the right application may be a worthwhile thing.
there is a second consideration depending on how prevalent this becomes. If every single image on the page is suddenly moving and gyrating, you will lose your mind in terms of sensory overload as a shopper.
Yes. I agree with that very much. That's just me on a like normal day in a regular store. So
Right. So
yeah,
imagine everything is waving at you and everything is saying, "Come look at me." Like, wait, what do I look at? You know, you lose it.
yeah. And then like what is the moderation from Amazon, both on the creation side, because I know like you can get, very detailed and have Amazon create, these crazy things for you, but then just because Amazon created for you does not mean that it's automatically approved, right? It still has to go through moderation.
I guarantee there are prompts which could create some really, really unacceptable things.
Yeah, so they'll create it for you, and then you'll put it through the moderation, and then your ad's still gonna fail or whatever that might be. And then yeah, will there be some restrictions? Can you only use one live image on a PDP, or can you use one if you're using a video or not if you're using a video, or like what will those be to kind of keep the PDPs from becoming a circus?
Yep,
And
agreed.
remains to be seen.
Yeah, the circus is going to be interesting.
If there's adoption. I mean, then that's always the thing with Amazon too. So many things get announced and never actually roll out to everyone because there's minimal adoption.
Yeah.
Which again is that kind of, I go
Moving,
back.
moving images, title changes that they rolled out and Accelerate. Like the sensory overload is, I think, yeah, it's like how much is going to be too much, because it's like, where's that sweet spot where it's just a touch enough to make a difference?
Yeah. And we'll be back.
What's gonna end up happening is it'll go from a small thing to table stakes as you create a new listing. And that's when the tidal wave happens. So the number of people who will change it today, probably questionable. But all of a sudden, when you see a top seller in the category has added that to every one of their listings, everyone's going to say, well, the top seller is doing it. And that's it. It goes all the way down the food chain. So at first slow, then tidal wave.
Yep. Agreed. Okay, so wrapping up creative there and kind of combining the DSP AMC because of time. So we probably got about 5 minutes to devote to this. So instead of starting with the list, I'll just ask real quick, anybody really excited about any ASP DMC? Oh dear. AMC DSP topic.
A lot of news about DSP. I mean, DSP was the buzz at unBoxed. Whether it's the new creative formats or the new performance, campaign manager. I mean, there's just so much around DSP and making it seemingly more accessible to everybody.
And they didn't really announce 100 new, like it wasn't like 100 new things. Here's these massive things we can talk about, like it was with the AI. Here's this, this is our big creative suite. This is what we're doing. DSP, like one of the first sessions I sat through, they just started going over, here's the 30+ enhancements that we made to DSP this year. We did this, here's an example. We did this, here's an example. And so I think a lot of it is they're not waiting on this. They weren't waiting to announce everything in unBoxed. Here's all the new stuff. They've been kind of rolling out one thing here and there. Like, hey, you wanted more feedback? Here it is. Here's why you weren't getting impressions. Here's what that order forecasting looks like. And they've been rolling those out throughout the year, which has been not like in terms of nothing is pushing the needle enough to, knock the boulder over, but it's like all the little pebbles throughout the year while they're continuing to roll that out into the next year. I thought that was nice that it wasn't like, let's wait for unBoxed to announce everything. It's like, okay, let's test it. Here's some data. they had like, here's, 75% faster campaign creation based on the changes we made this year, and 68% better campaign optimizations with the suggestions that Amazon is making. Like they actually had data to back stuff up too, which was a lot easier to take in as someone who's not in the DSP console every day. To be like, cool, here's the overarching effect that we can share with our, the brands we work with.
Yeah, a lot. I think what you said is exactly on point. A lot of it is incremental. They are always working on DSP. They are always rolling out individual features and small changes. And this is a continued progression along that path. There's some things to do with interfaces and some things to do with a little bit of the deliverability, but a lot of it is refinement from a system which already does a lot of heavy lifting. I think that this is a case where that multi-touch attribution that we spoke about earlier for the regular ads console and for AMC, this is a lot more insightful and valuable as part of DSP. So with DSP, one of the challenges that I encounter a lot with brands I work with is whether DSP moves the needle. And we often find out that it doesn't. We often find out that when somebody is selling, I don't know, $500,000 a month, they will add in DSP. They will spend $35,000 to generate $80,000 in sales, which is break even. But as soon as they stop that spend, it sort of just goes right back to where they were before. It wasn't contributing anything extra besides its own orders. And we found that a lot. Now, that might be a failure of DSP, or it might be a failure of implementation, and refinements could have fixed it. Up until now, we were very scattered in what we could do. With additional information about attribution, we can see a lot more, and it's much more likely to make DSP effective. So that's probably where it's more useful than with people testing out sponsored TV. Understanding the DSP path better is definitely more valuable.
I think it just makes it's getting easier to talk about it. Like, I think that's been the hardest thing the last couple of years, is explaining the why behind DSP to clients, because we haven't seen that path, because you haven't been able to make those correlations. But with the adjustments that they're rolling out with AMC and forecasting and everything else into the DSP console, you can actually tell that story. And so it makes our jobs a little easier too, explaining that to a brand and letting, explaining the full picture. Because I think that's the biggest missing piece that I've had a hard time articulating personally the last couple of years, is just trying to tie it all together for a brand, because of what you're saying exactly. Like, what is it actually doing besides this top of funnel growth? Like, what's the long-term effect?
Right. And you definitely need a better quality of data to present it, and a better quality data to take advantage of it. So this is a big step in that direction. Up until now, I feel like we're giving a concept, but measuring the value of the thing is harder. It's definitely there. There is no question that the concept of putting a product in front of a shopper more times leads to more sales. It's a very simple concept. It's provable in 100 different ways in advertising. But the question is, which views are the right views? That's the harder one. So more views, better. Which more views are the best more views? That's the hard part. So better data is better there.
And Amazon's saying that now they're going to have these, buyer signals earlier, higher on the funnel, that they can adjust, and using AI enhance, so that DSP gets even better results based on these like browsing signals. They talked a lot about the upper funnel signals.
And it's easier to trust that now that we can better track and analyze, right? Yes. They could tell us that all day long, that we're going to do this and it's going to be there, and it's like there's this enhancement, but until we can actually then start to track it, does it matter that they're saying they're doing that? Now I think it all comes together, so now it all matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely all steps in the better direction for brands.
Yeah, especially as so many brands now too are, having a bigger e-commerce or online presence. I shouldn't even say e-commerce, right? Like, but they do have things happening across the internet on their own sites and on socials and things where they're getting kind of that top of funnel brand recognition just by being present on the internet. And then how does that tie back to their Amazon sales, and how are they seeing their whole journey across these things? Well, these other Amazon tools or products or other places where they can continue to build that presence and have more analytics around what that presence is doing beyond what's just happening on your social media and you know, reading your social media analytics.
Yep, agreed.
All right. We have 3 minutes left, which means it's probably time to say goodbye to everyone, because I hate when a webinar runs over and I keep people around too long. So we'll go back through the team and just have everyone give whatever their last, you know, closing note is here. It can be something that you loved about unBoxed that we didn't talk about. It could be just something general, promo, anything you want to leave everyone with, how to contact you, whatever you want to do. One last thought from Abe. We'll start with you again.
All right. My last thought is actually a thing we didn't even touch on, which is a thing you better start considering is that Amazon is launching an off-price store. So they're officially launching or unofficially launching that competitor to Temu, and no brands. Everything is generic. Everything's under $20. Long delivery times, short return times. You know, everything that is designed for the impulse shopper that's going to throw stuff out. Be aware of that and factor that into your big picture for your business. There's a whole conversation to have around that, but at least start to thinking.
And I think maybe we make that one of our shorts that we do for Q4 tips, so we can dive into that at least a little bit more and get some information in front of the people. So we'll definitely be in touch about that, because it's worth talking about. And yeah, just do a quick Google search on it. There's some information out there already, but we can bring you some more.
A lot of complaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alexi, your last thought?
Yeah, no, and unBoxed is really good. It was fun to be in Austin. They're moving it to Nashville next year, so we'll see, you know, they're staying the country route, which is an interesting Amazon twist. But yeah, I just thought there was a lot of good information at the conference itself, but plenty of updates out there if you didn't make it to the conference. But yeah, it was a lot of info, but it also was stuff that nothing to me was like so new. We didn't think they were going to touch this, which was nice too. I felt like a lot of it was kind of expected rollouts and improvements to current processes and giving us more data, which at the end of the day, that's what we want for our brands, is just that additional data. So that's what I'm excited about. So, all right, Jeff.
I guess my message for the Amazon selling community is these new things are really worth diving in and paying attention to. This is not like a tangential thing. I mean, DSP, for example, it's a big topic, and something that I think I would encourage all Amazon sellers to really take a deep dive on. I mean, people always talk about, oh, the good old days years ago when, you know, so easy to sell on Amazon, so easy to make money on Amazon. Because all you had to do was, you know, simple XYZ execution. Right now, to make money on Amazon, you have to jump on these large game changer tools like DSP. So there's a reason that Amazon spent so much time on DSP and talked about it so deeply, and we've discussed it. It's because it's what's moving the needle for so many brands. So I just encourage everyone to deep dive and get sophisticated and get educated about some of these new tools that are really move the needle.
Awesome. Thank you so much to everyone. Appreciate you being here today, especially to our panelists. We will keep the chat open for another couple minutes, so panelists will all drop off, but anybody else who's here wants to grab any of those links or anything, the webinar will stay open so that you can do that, and we will see you again next month. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.